Hi, I'm Carly of Gnarly Carley Gaming, and today I am talking about my love affair with the social deduction game Blood on the Clocktower. In January of 2020, I met the gem of a human that is my friend Noel. Some people might know him from the Pandemonium Institute streams of Blood on the Clocktower. He is a phenomenal player in his own right. Noel is the one who introduced me to the game. We had barely known each other at all when I was working from home one day and my Wi-Fi completely went out, and he invited me over to finish my workday at his house. We worked side by side and chatted for a while. We were still very much getting to know each other, and he told me about this really cool new game called Blood on the Clocktower that he had backed on Kickstarter. After we were done working from the day, he threw a playthrough that was on YouTube onto his TV, and we made it through about half of it before we realized that I probably was going to get towed from his apartment complex, and I went home, watched the rest of it, and texted him geeking out about it throughout. We immediately started planning to have a game ourselves in person, but it was February of 2020, and the world shut down, and so it never came to fruition. Instead, it wouldn't be until a couple months later that we brought some of my family and friends together on Discord to try the game out for the first time. And I fucking fell in love with this game. So what is Blood on the Clocktower, and why was I so smitten with it? Blood on the Clocktower is a social deduction game where we are all a part of the town of Ravenswood Bluff, and we wake one day to find that our dear storyteller, the moderator of the game, has been impaled on our town square clock tower. Obviously, this means that we have a demon in our town, one that kills by night and takes on human form by day, and we have to find and execute the demon in order to win. We being the good team. The evil team wants the demon to survive till the end of the game, where it's just 2 players left, the demon and 1 other person, good or evil. The game oscillates between night and day phases. During the day, people talk, and at night, a lot of abilities are triggered, including the demon typically gets a chance to kill. If you're familiar at all with social deduction games, this probably sounds a lot like Mafia or Werewolf to you. And in some ways, you're right. It's a social deduction game at its core, where you're trying to deduce who's on your team and ultimately meet your team's objective. However, there's a couple of things that made me love this game more than any other social deduction game I've ever played. The first reason I think this game is just so dang good is that each person will play a unique character every game with its own special abilities. At the beginning of a game, players get a character sheet that lists all of the potential characters in play, and none can repeat, and based on the number of people playing, you'll know the proportions of different potential roles possible. On the good team, you have your outsiders and your townfolk, and on the bad team, you have your minions and always 1 demon. These proportions, in addition to special character abilities, are how you'll make sense of the madness. So for instance, if 2 people are claiming to be an outsider in an 11-player game, someone has to be lying unless there's a special character ability in play that changes the outsider count. Adding to the chaos of the game is that your ability can malfunction. You could think you're the librarian, but instead be the drunk, and the information you receive at the whim of the storyteller may not be true. Additionally, there are roles that can corrupt information. One of my favorite roles to be is the poisoner. Each day, they wake up and pick a player. That player is poisoned, having their ability malfunction, again, at the discretion of the storyteller. Usually when a character like a poisoner picks someone to have their ability malfunction, the storyteller will use that to try to harm the opposing team. So a player has to figure out who to trust and which information is reliable, including if they can even trust themselves. Well, they can trust themselves. They know whose team they're on, they just might not know if the info they're getting is good. But nothing can happen by accident. It isn't this haphazard dance of like, who knows what information is reliable and what can we do? Sorting through the possibilities of the game, what often players will refer to as worldviews, potential realities of the situation. If X, Y, and Z are true, how does everyone fit into this madness? That puzzling through is what makes this game magic. It also makes it far more fun. I hate when I play a social deduction game and I am a simple villager who knows nothing and just has to stare at everybody and hope I can figure out what's going on. And everyone's role contributes to the story. I may have a super powerful role, and you may have a role that only triggers one time at the beginning of the game. But if I think you're evil, it's going to affect my whole view of this game and how all the puzzle pieces fit together. Everyone is important. Everyone's contribution helps bring the pieces together or causes them to fall apart. And different character scripts mean this game is immensely replayable. There are so many different characters with unique abilities, and there's a lot of different approaches to either being them or bluffing as them. Essentially, no two games are ever alike, and it's such a joy to be able to experiment with different ways to play. The second thing I love most about Blood on the Clocktower is how it treats dead players. When you're dead, you are not even close to done. You can still talk freely and participate in any and all discussions, throwing shade on good if you're evil, or trying to sort out what's going on if you're good. There is a consequence to being dead, though. You can no longer nominate anyone for execution, and you only have one more vote remaining for the rest of the game. This vote is vastly important, however. I've seen games come down to 3 people left, 1 of them good and 2 of them evil, and if the good player can nominate the demon, a room full of ghosts can be the deciding factor. And that's amazing. In so many social deduction games, if you're dead, you either can't talk anymore or you can't vote anymore, and it doesn't feel like what you do really matters. And while you do lose your ability, so if you were an information getting role, all of those things, none of that happens anymore either. You still can help your team in a very full and fulfilling way. Though I could drone on and on about so many ways in which Blood on the Clocktower is special, the last thing I'll talk about and gush over is the role of the moderator in the game, the storyteller. Being a storyteller for Blood on the Clocktower was by far one of the most interesting experiences in gaming I've ever had. The storyteller fully curates the game. They'll pull from the character sheet and decide exactly which characters will be in play, and they make decisions along the way that both balance the game and make it interesting. For instance, when an ability malfunctions, the storyteller gets to decide exactly how that works. So if an undertaker who learns the role of the person who died at night was poisoned, for instance, having their ability malfunction, the storyteller could choose that they learned that an evil minion instead was the role they were choosing to bluff as. Now this is traceable, and good can try to piece together, hey, you're getting good readings here, but maybe this one wasn't true. However, it helps keep that balance along the way, and the storyteller can decide how much to give the good team versus evil team to keep the game going and going well. Also, plenty of abilities that might trigger. For instance, there's one role called the Tinkerer that might die at any time. It's a volatile role, but the storyteller gets to decide when that happens. Additionally, they get to choose how long the days are, giving opportunity to talk, but deciding when conversation has carried on long enough. You don't want a good team to solve it all day one, but you also want to make sure days are moving and players are still having fun and getting information they need. It is immensely difficult. When you're the storyteller and trying to listen in on conversations and keep things going and track bluffs, it can be quite the challenge. And you feel really responsible for the experience of the people that are playing. However, it's immensely fun, and watching it go well and watching a story play out and hearing everyone's excitement as you tell them just what happened along the way at the end of the game is unlike anything I've ever had before. It's not always smooth, but you get the chance to make really cool decisions and get to see how your town deals with the hand you've dealt them. Between the storyteller curating chaos, the ghost gang being able to make big plays, and over 200 unique characters adding immense vibrance to this game, Blood on the Clocktower is by far the most elegant social deduction I've ever played, and I think the only form of long-form social deduction I'm really even interested in trying these days. When we first started playing on Discord over the summer, we must have played 4 nights in one given week. Noel, myself, my roommates, we were all just obsessed with the game. I've played an inordinate number of games of Blood, but truly it's a game that held me when I was really struggling. It was a really difficult time to be a gamer in peak pandemic, and it gave me an outlet for creativity and exploration when I felt kind of hollow. I think at that time, and even now, we all needed something exciting to pour our attention to, and it was such a joy in my life. I fell in love with the game, and in particular playing for the evil team. Many people online who know me playing with No Rules Barred know this to be true. I freaking relish in being evil. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome to play on the good team, and it's super satisfying to try to hunt down and finally get the demon. But while solving the game, especially if it comes down to the wire, is satisfying, there's nothing like playing Team Evil for me. Because instead of solving the puzzle, you're spinning a web of lies and falsities and creating one for the good team. And it's an immensely difficult dance. You have to sell a worldview that's wrong and try to figure out enough of what's going on and who's trusted and who's not and how you can spin the game in your favor, or at least just long enough in your favor to let your demon survive till the end. A single misstep and the good team can realize that your version of reality isn't possible and you can lose the game. But getting a minion or a good player killed in that final 3 is just such a high for me, and I don't think there's another that can beat it. And while being the demon is great, being a minion is my absolute favorite. You care about keeping the demon alive, but your own life is fully inconsequential, and so you can stir the story in bold and chaotic ways, or else just be a distraction at the end from the true source of all things evil. It is phenomenally fun. And lucky for me, while my favorite thing is to play and hope that I get to rock it on Team Evil, my buddy Noel loves being our storyteller extraordinaire. He is incredibly good at it and ran most of the games we played with my family and friend on Discord. During these Discord games, I started sharing my experience with Blood on the Clocktower on Instagram. When you play on Discord, you usually mute yourself and everyone else is muted or in separate rooms of sorts so the storyteller can talk to people as needed. But nights can be long, and while the demon's killing and people are getting info, sometimes you're sitting there for a while. So I would share on my stories what was going on with me, what I thought was happening in the town, and just sharing my love of blood. And through that, Adam of No Rules Barred found me. And he messaged me on Instagram, and I had never heard of him at the time, but I looked up No Rules Barred, and I was like, I guess I'll play with you guys. And that is how I got thrown into my first game as the demon on No Rules Barred, confusing the shit out of John. Since playing with No Rules Barred, my love for Blood on the Clocktower has only grown. Not only is playing with them amazing, but I am just oh so thankful for all the people that Blood has given me in my life. I have friends across an ocean that I never thought I would, as well as I was able to connect with my family and friend here when it was very difficult to do so. This game held me through difficult times, brought more vibrance to my world, is elegant and playful and fun and nowhere near old for me, and I am just so utterly smitten with it. And that's why I wanted to make this video. Blood has given me so much, and I just wanted to drone on and on about the things that make it special to me and how much joy it has brought me in my life. And if you want more information about Blood on the Clocktower, or maybe want to try playing for yourself online, I've put some links below to help you out there. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and leave me a comment below of other content you'd like to see from Gnarly Carley Gaming.